Oh, and since Craig's here, I'm going to also make a co-host. Okay. So any moment now, we should get the confirmation on YouTube. I'll also make a co-host. And there we are. I can hear myself on YouTube, so we are streaming.
Yeah.
Welcome, folks. This is the MBTA's Rider Oversight Committee meeting for November 12th of 2024. Important to note here that it's 2 weeks earlier that we're doing the full public meeting, but it's combined with the subcommittee meetings as well. So we're doing a combination of what's normally the fourth Tuesday of the month combined with what's normally on the second Tuesday of the month, which this is because of the holiday coming up, Thanksgiving, namely. And we're going to do the same thing again in December of this year. In 4 weeks, we're going to have again the combined subcommittees with the full public meeting. And we're not going to have a rock meeting on the evening of December 24th, which is the fourth Tuesday, because that's Christmas Eve. I'm Stefan Wunsch. I'm the co-chair of the Oversight Committee along with Wig. I'm in Lynn, Massachusetts. And Wig, want to just introduce yourself quick, more like an
Sure.
audio check than anything?
I'm Wig Zamor, representative from Somerville.
Sounds good. Thank you. And Len, want to just
Leonard
say hi?
Higgins. Leonard Higgins. Dennison of East Arlington.
Thank you very much. And Craig,
Craig Laskowski, member, Milton, Massachusetts.
thank you very much. Oh, and we should also say that Len co-chairs the Finance and Capital Subcommittee, and Craig co-chairs with me the Operations and Communications Subcommittee, which themselves have been merged into one, but we still consider co-chairs to be for the separate subtopics of what's now the merged subcommittee, which is merged into this meeting. So it's a merging upon merging of mergings. All right. I'm going to look on YouTube very quickly. I am the only one who is watching the YouTube stream right now. And the attendees list that I see on Zoom is 0. So that means it's just us 4. So as far as public comment goes, unless one of you three gents would like to say something as public comment, we can go right into discussion of preliminary meeting schedule. I think, Len, you had a plan for that?
Well, yeah, it was just mainly just say, I'm planning on making a schedule that's very similar to this year's, where we just have the combined, you know, subcommittee meetings, on the second Tuesday of the month, and then the full rock meeting on the fourth Tuesday of the month, and then to do the same thing with November and December. So I will get that out for the next meeting. I may send it out before then, but at least you have you know what January is gonna pretend, well, not pretend, what the dates will be for January, the second Tuesday and the fourth Tuesday. Will be
Right.
our meetings in January.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just to recap it in my own head, sort of saying it out loud for my own benefit, really. January through October inclusive in 2025, we keep the same second Tuesday, fourth Tuesday, 2 meetings per month for the first 10 months of 2025, and then November and December 2025, merge them together, single combined meeting for both of those holiday months. Did I get that
Right.
right?
Yeah, yeah, and except
Excellent.
that we don't, and also we normally take August off. So we won't
Oh,
have
that's
meetings
right.
in
Yes,
August.
yes, yes. Which we'll likely do again.
Right, right, and then there's always maybe the possibility that I'll run into holidays. I'm mainly thinking of the Jewish holidays. That may make scheduling so challenging. That will change things. For whatever reason, but we'll discuss that next month. You know. But I just at least wanted to
Understood.
confirm the general pattern to make sure that people were fine with that. So at least you know what to plan for January, even if you don't have the schedule in front of you. Uh,
Exactly.
all
Yep.
right.
Oh, and yes, I did leapfrog right over on the agenda to discussion of the meeting schedule, even though that's on for 6, just because Wig identified that he's got to leave around. Did you say, Wig, you have to leave around 5:30, or was it 6
Yeah,
o'clock or so?
I should leave shortly after 5:30. I've got a local
Okay.
meeting. I missed about 6 hours earlier today, and I've got to do the 1 hour recap.
No problem. That's fine. We'll make sure that we can get you out of here. Is there, I mean, okay, so if unless there's anything else on the preliminary
No,
2025
I just
schedule,
want to,
go
Craig
ahead.
wasn't here, but Craig, I have to say I was blown away by the general manager's last report. I don't know if you saw it. It had so much positive information, given, given how with an old transit agency, how often you see negative information. It was kind of nice to see. So that was great. One other thing I just want to say as a footnote.
I didn't tell him to say that, Craig, just so you know. I did not tell him to say that.
No. I have to say I'm kind of praying for rain. I can't believe how many parts, especially of the East, are dry and really at huge fire risk
Yep.
at the moment. And
That's what
that goes for the track fires too. So I hope they're paying attention to that stuff and have kept the brush back.
I was thinking exactly that myself, that lots and lots of infrastructure for commuter rail in particular is still I don't know if it's actually creosote any longer, but wooden ties and a lot of wooden span um, piling bridges. And the older the bridge is, the more the likelihood is that it's going to be creosote on wood, which can be very, very flammable. So yeah, I think the concern is mutual, Wig, and probably
Yeah,
throughout
a lot of those
MBTA and
fires are
kill those
actually
ups.
a lot of those fires are actually started by dry brush if they don't keep it clean of the tracks.
Yep. And I do know that the um the not defoliation, that's the wrong term.
Yeah,
The vegetation management along rights of way. I know that in some cases there's still some chemical um
yeah,
defoliants that are used, but that is if not basically paused, it's very rare, and the vast majority of vegetation management on the right of way is done mechanically, either saws or
right.
beaters. I don't know if you've ever seen these things that are basically like chain flails on big arms that just
Yeah, and they
it's like a
actually
medieval weapon of something that just bashes everything that's vegetation into oblivion.
there's actually a formal report, environmental report on that about once a year.
Oh,
And
on the chemical
no, just
defoliants
on
or the
the on how much on what has been done to make sure there's not too much dry brush over the track right of ways.
Oh, I didn't know that. Who is the MBTA putting that out, or is that,
I it
excuse me, MassDOT or
I
environmental?
forget who does it, but it's in the environmental filings. It's on the environmental filings pages. It's not on the T, I think, on the T's
Got it.
website.
I'm gonna see if I can
But it's a
find
big
that.
deal. It's a big deal.
Right, right. I'm gonna see if I can. No, I'm not gonna try to find it right now. Rest
Right.
assured. But yeah, yeah, that's
They have
it's
hearings. They
really
have
good to
public
know.
hearings at least once every 3 years.
Oh, good. I don't think I've heard of that before. I'm really glad you mentioned that. Um, is there any highlight that any of you want me to pull up for this is the GM's report
right.
to the board from what was this 2 weeks ago, roughly.
Yeah, yeah.
October
There was
24th.
they
This
Yep,
is
24th.
they
October
didn't
24th.
file. There's one that another one we should have had, but it hasn't been filed yet.
Okay.
But this was ridiculously positive. I can't remember seeing one this positive.
What do you mean? What hasn't been filed yet? Wait,
Well, I think there is one report that's outstanding, Len. I
One
think
report
I
by
think there
whom?
was supposed to be MBTA report about 3 days ago that didn't come out.
Report on what?
Just a general update
Oh,
from
you mean
the
like a meeting?
an update from the general manager. I think this one is a little out of date.
Well, this is just okay, all right, because this one happens at their board meetings.
Yeah, yeah. I
Basi-
think the last board meeting didn't
well, they
have.
have they have the subcommittee meetings that were canceled. I mean, and
Yeah,
so the
that's right.
all
That's
right,
what it was.
so they
That's
have
what it
like
was.
me three subcommittee meetings, and they were canceled the previous
Right,
month too. I don't know what's going on with that,
right.
because I was hoping that there'd be some detail on things in those that I'm very curious about. One in particular is the increased utilization of the reduced fare.
Yep,
So there was a hint in the previous board meeting, that there was greater uptake on that than expected. And
yep.
I really wanted to get a sense of the um, impact of that, like how much more, utilization of it, and what was the impact on the budget. And I think that fits in, with what it's clearly the beginning of the discussion about increasing fares, which was another deck, at that board meeting, which I like to discuss, later
Yep.
on, but yeah, in the GM's presentation, as positive as it was, a bit of sad news, for us, but good news for him is Steve Hicks' retirement. So Steve Hicks is 23 years is up, and he's moving on. But who knows? Maybe he'll be back as a consultant.
I missed that. I hadn't gone to the end yet.
Yeah,
Son of a gun.
his slide number. They're not really numbered on the
Yeah,
slides themselves.
I'm a little jealous. I've been
Oh,
working like
slide 19.
There
19.
we
I've been
go.
Yeah,
I've
a
been
little.
working 55 years.
Oh, son of a gun.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if he'll see my good wishes, but Steve, it was great working with you on The Rock. Thank you again for all the time, Steve, that you gave us over the years.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna miss you.
Yeah, I'll miss him too. Him and lots of other people who have left.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Actually, I think it's, I mean, I'll mention it. In my personal opinion, just in my personal opinion, um, I would not be surprised if the subcommittee, the MBTA board subcommittees being canceled was related to the um, the turnover of the departure of Tom Glynn as the chair of the board and um, the appointing of Tom McGee as the new MBTA board chair. It strikes me that subcommittee operations being interrupted by a change of chairman leadership, eh, not surprising. I mean, it's my speculation, personal opinion. I'm not concerned about it. Craig, you about to say something?
well, I just missed the information. So regardless of the reason for it, I just missed the information that I would hopefully get from those meetings. Now, a lot of times, the some of the content is presented at the full board meeting, and so you see the same decks from a subcommittee meeting, in the full board meeting, but still, I feel that some information, isn't there, regardless of the reason for it. Yeah,
Yep.
that's all I'm saying. I'm
Yep.
not attributing any motives. I'm just saying
Right.
I'm missing what I would hope would be the information I want that would come out of those meetings.
Yep. Just funny. I just happened to notice the it's hard to read because of the low contrast on part of it, but this photo of Tom Glynn is from Morgan Hall at the Harvard Business School, and that's where I used to work at the Harvard Business School, and I spent a good couple of years doing support for faculty in Morgan Hall.
That's great.
So my old stomping ground right here. I didn't remember that Tom Glynn had a connection to the business school at Harvard. Doesn't really matter,
Excellent.
but
Yeah.
interesting.
Just scroll up to
Uh,
slide 3, I mean, what I find interesting about this one on
Yep.
the track improvement program
Yes.
is
Here
the
we go.
extent to which it's gone beyond projections. I mean, which is good. I'm just kind of wondering what has allowed that to happen. I mean, especially on the one that has the number of rail feet that's replaced. I mean, that's a huge overshoot, and so
Yep.
I'm just kind of curious as to what has allowed that. I mean, whether it's a matter of more funding available. I don't think it's just that. I mean, is it that they are able to do more work when they have these shutdowns? Because I was expecting that the projections were based on the amount of work that needed to be done, and if the projections were need versus ideal, then that's good to know. We have certainly not complaining. I'm just kind of wondering why, and unfortunately, I feel as if the information on the decks has become less. There's just less information on the decks, on the slides. I mean,
Yeah.
I used to feel that I don't have to really be at the meeting, in order to get me most of like the vast majority of what's being presented at the meeting because I can just read the deck. Now I kind of feel like, probably need a transcript of the meeting or something in order to see
Yeah,
what they're
Len,
saying
I
about the
agree.
slide. Uh,
I agree with you. But number one, I think it's a really good observation that you caught the 150% complete, and that's what it means to have those lines on the donut graphs go beyond
Yeah.
beyond the halfway point. That was a good observation there, and it's a good question. But I also agree with you in terms of the less information. The materials feel glossier now,
yeah,
like more pictures, less content.
yeah,
Like pay no attention to what's over here. Look at the shiny pictures. Look at the happy smiling people.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's become like a magazine for the
Right.
T, not
Yeah.
necessarily a report to the board.
Right. Now, I'll say, I mean, this is, I mean, and this is the GM's report, and so maybe it's going to be high level like that, and the GM is just going to discuss stuff. But it does make me more inclined to see if I can get a transcript of it. So that's it.
Yep.
And that's
Just
why one quick thing, and now I'll stop talking. That's
yep.
why I mean, with some of the subcommittee reports, I kind of feel that the decks in those reports or more beefy, and just more information.
Right.
So I'm done. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to just for clarification. The slide 3 on the GM's report to the board is what I had pulled up at first, but I don't see specifically the projection numbers on the GM's presentation. So I just wanted to clarify, make sure, was I missing the projected and the achieved
Well,
results, or
well, I'm
because
assuming.
I see them in the separate presentation, which was done apparently by Ryan Jordan, same presentation to the board, just a different slide deck. So I just wanted to make sure that for anybody who's following along on YouTube later and for right here right now,
Yeah. So I
the
think I think Ryan Jordan did call it projected, and I think it was the
okay,
same chart. So that's why I used the word projected.
right,
But if you look at the light yellow bar that has percent
yep,
complete, all of those are over 100% complete. That's what really
exactly,
first caught my eye. Is like, well, how can something be like more than 100% complete? And then I guess
Yeah,
later on,
how could they be busting the red line this week if it's 150% complete?
yeah, yeah. And then so then you look at the graph of the chart. It does show that it goes beyond the 180-degree mark. To show you graphically that they have passed at least what they consider 100%. So I think even if he hadn't used the term projection, I probably would have used something equivalent to say, well, they just went above the goal. And so what was the basis for the goal? And then why is it that they're able to exceed the goal? And this isn't meant to be any indictment. It's more of a
right.
curiosity question, which all of my colleagues
Yeah,
in this about every entity I'm on is used to my curiosity questions. I'm sorry, Craig, what were you gonna say?
yeah. No, so I think they're saying the originally projected versus like the complete is the complete. It's not a projection. It's the projected speaks to what the original target was.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Right.
sorry. If my word projection is confusing, I don't mean that. Whatever word just works for all of us is the word I'll use for.
Yeah. No.
It exceeds 100%.
Nothing that you said about the content was confusing. I just saw the projections on a different slide deck than what I thought I heard you say. So I just wanted to, just for clarity for other people who might be looking for it, because I believe the projected and the actual achieved are simply in the slide deck from Ryan Jordan, not from the GM. But that's all. That's the only point.
All right.
Minor distinction, but yeah. I did wonder one thing about this. In this color coding, the gray doesn't actually have an element in the, let's see, this is the GM's presentation. The gray is there. There's no key explaining what the gray is. So thankfully, in the presentation, the second slide deck as such, it says gray is beyond scope.
Right.
That to me is confusing, and I agree with you. Yeah, about this is probably an element that would have been made clear if I had heard that that presentation during the board meeting. But I mean, is this gray beyond scope? I mean, they look like negative numbers. I believe these are all showing a negative value. What? Yeah.
Well, isn't
That's how you get to.
isn't
I
the
think it's
scope
just
here?
because you're below the 180 mark. You're showing just the additional that you.
Right. Yeah, the
Okay.
scope here was for this time period. I think they're saying they're ahead, right?
Yeah, I mean it's clear that
No.
more has been done than it was originally anticipated. It does say at the bottom projected as of November 2023. So a year later, yes, more has been done than was projected a year ago. But I'm just confused by what, is this beyond scope?
Well, I think it's beginning
Is
on
it
the goal.
complete? Is it?
No, it's not just me. Yeah, so I don't think it means that they're ahead, Wig. I think it means that they're doing more than they said they were going to do, more than they originally set out to do. I mean,
Right. So they went into a section.
Okay.
They thought they were going to have to. They thought they were going to do a mile of track. When they got done with it, maybe they did a couple ties in either direction more for
I
that
see.
set, and did 1.1 miles. So they're giving themselves credit for the.
Okay. So it's spatial rather than temporal.
yeah.
Oh, and I'm sorry. I just realized
They're replacing more than they said they would replace.
Yeah.
Like they thought they were going to have to replace.
Right.
Okay.
10.
And I seem to remember me. I'm sorry, did I interrupt somebody?
No.
Okay.
So if they were a dentist and they thought they were going to have to drill 3 teeth, they went in and drilled 4 teeth, and they're giving themselves credit for all 4 teeth.
Oh, and that's striking a little bit too close to home because I'm going to the dentist. I mean,
okay.
And not only does your tooth hurt afterwards, but the wallet, I tell you, even with insurance, it's like, oh my goodness. But anyways,
that actually ties to the right question here, right? So are what I don't know. A lot of this track replacement work is contracted, right? It's specialized construction work. So
yes.
The question is, were they if you look at it just here, like, oh great, we did extra, we did bonus, but did the bonus have a cost, right? Like was that a fixed price contract to do X amount of track, and the contractor, hey, it happens, right? Like it happens in like a house. Like if you get some like you generally talk about, well, paint that room over there, and you didn't specifically talk about paying the trim, but he did the walls and the trim. And you're like, oh, I'll take that. I wasn't really sure which way it was going to go. Like so, if it's a fixed price contract, it's fine, right? But if they're like we replaced 156 feet of rail, did we do a third too much? And did we get charged for all that steel? And is that $5 million in steel? Steel that we didn't need to spend money on.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, Although I would imagine that they on some level were prepared for that because it's not like they're going to have the that material just hanging around, so they probably said like, yeah, if we can do this, we'll do it. But this is what we're going to say is our goal. So it might be one of those cases of you set you lower the expectations. And I do know that when we had presentations being to the advisory board, they did say, look, we have what we know we can do. And unless something goes seriously wrong, we're going to get that done. But there are these other things that we can do while we have the track closed. And if we can, as much of that we can do, we can do. I thought it was more around station beautification and things like that, station cleaning. I didn't think it was like more track work. And I was hoping that it might be around like power work on the tracks, which thankfully is an element that is discussed in another deck regarding to funding, But so, anyways, so this was curious.
Well, I'll make a prediction. I would not be surprised if the additional achievements beyond the projected scope was able to be done because the contract was for the amount of time and crew and vehicle procurement, etc., for a given amount of time. So, I mean, I'm certainly hoping that.
Yeah,
No.
that's what I assumed when we started this conversation. But I
Yeah.
think I think it's really worth asking a question or two among the folks who would know,
Yeah.
to determine, what is the correct interpretation. I think
Yeah.
this is a great
Well,
slide, as it turns
yeah.
out.
We can probably just go and watch the recording, of the meeting.
Yeah.
So I watched the recording first, before I ask anybody and see if it's
Okay.
mentioned there.
Yep.
So I
Yeah.
may get around to it. I don't know if
Let
they
me
do
let me know if
transcripts.
you let me know if you find out. I I bet it's as simple as they paid for 4 weeks and X amount of people, and everything went quicker. So the same amount of people just did more, and nobody charged anything because it was based on a time period,
Yeah.
not charging by the amount of
We
work.
got free steel. It just came. It was a buy 2 tons of steel, get a third ton free.
No.
I think they're looking at a multi-year project, and they've got the multi-year cost in mind, and they just did more this year than they
Yeah.
expected. That's
Yeah.
my
No.
guess.
Yeah, we didn't have the free steel. It's more that they had it there, and it's really a matter of whether we have the free labor more than we have the free steel. Because you don't get free steel, you don't have steel just hanging around.
Right.
So they bought it with the anticipation, well, with the expectation they're going to do it at some point in time. But it seems like they were able to do it sooner, and so now the question is whether that costs more. And it's probably like they say, look, we're paying you. This is a contracted time. We'll expect you to work all the time, and if for some reason they're more efficient, than they expected, then they got more done. I'm hoping that's it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
it's probably the easiest explanation. Anyways, weekday ridership seems to be up across all
Yep.
Oh,
modes.
yes. Go back to that one now.
Number 7.
Yes, there we are.
That's year over year. Yeah,
Yep.
so I guess that's not too surprising. It'll be interesting to see if that changes their projections for funding, next year, which scenario that plays into,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't suppose any of you gents have heard anything about head counts involved with the increasingly frequent large corporations saying thou shalt come back to the office. I know Amazon about a month ago, which has a big Boston presence. I know because I shouldn't say how whatever. I know Amazon has a big presence. I know some people at Amazon, and it even made the news. Amazon said thou shalt return to work at least, I think they said at least 3 days a week. I would love to know sort of regionally
It's a
what's
pretty
the
big national trend, actually.
yeah, yeah. I would love to know if these kind of ridership increases at all correlate to big companies saying thou shalt come back to the office, or is it just sort of the general state of people are feeling better about COVID, people are, I don't know, price of
Well, it may
gas
Well,
help.
is lower,
It,
that's been in a while adjusted for inflation. So I mean,
Well, well, if the system's becoming more reliable, I mean, that can
mhm.
help too. I'll tell you the red
yeah.
line, the red line from Alewife, to MGH is pretty zippy these days. So I mean, it just gets there pretty quickly. Dare I say,
Yeah.
it seems like it's faster than it was, before COVID, and so because it's like, I gets a little much less work done now when I'm taking the train there. And sometimes the train will wait in the station for a while, before it like takes off. I'm like, when is it going to leave? And then it leaves, and then I'm thinking, well, now because the headway is greater, the boarding times are going to be longer. But even with the boarding times taking a little bit longer because more people are getting on and getting off, it still gets to MGH pretty quickly, which just means the amount of time that is spending between stations. The speed between stations is higher.
Yep.
So I mean, if people are feeling like I can, if the experience that people have is that it's faster and therefore more reliable, that may encourage people to take it. And I hesitate a little bit there to me because like speed, and the amount of time it takes you to get from point A to point B isn't the same as reliability.
Right.
And they're just going to be factors that are going to affect the red line regardless of how fast the line is working.
Yep. From your experience, Len,
Yeah.
is the improvement that you've witnessed firsthand, irrespective of the old or new train sets?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. Yes. Because I'd say I'm on a new train, probably 5% of the time.
Oh, that's all.
That's all. That's
Oh.
all. Interestingly, though, that 5%, I'm slowly getting used to them. So I don't. When one comes along, it's like, okay, all right.
Right.
It's uh, and
Right. I
that's
forgot. It's only 28 delivered. Right. Right.
yeah.
Right. Right.
Uh,
Ah.
but I'm getting used to them. I have my preferred seating. So
Mhm.
that makes it. Yeah. Although at one of these points, it's going to be a rapid stop, and I'm going to go flying off my seat. But hey, as long as I don't get hurt, I'll be okay.
Guys, I got to
Yikes.
run.
All right.
No problem.
See
Thank you,
ya. Take
Wig.
care. See you next month.
Feel free to email us if you want to bring up anything specific for next month, since we're doing the combined thing again with limited time. We can plan in
Okay.
advance for
Thank you.
topics. Of
Take
course.
care.
Bye.
Happy Thanksgiving, Wig. Oh, I think you missed me. Um, okay.
So,
Go ahead.
I think do Craig, is there a deck you want to look at or anything you want to discuss?
No, I think we've hit this deck pretty well, right?
All right.
I
And
think so.
just
Yeah. I mean, I I'm interested if this M ticket scan is. It says conductor M ticket scans. I'm guessing that's on board because
yeah,
I mean it does specifically say conductor
yeah.
scans. It's doubled. I mean, okay. I mean, I didn't think
Well,
the technology had rolled out um, in the
that's good.
interim year. I thought the technology had already been out there. So how? I mean, is this a doubling of actual utilization of the technology? The ridership isn't up double. Oh yeah, it says right here. Yeah, ridership up 25%. But
Yeah.
I mean,
When did they start doing the Fairgate thing? I know they have it at North Station.
yes.
I don't know if they have the South Station yet. So when did they start doing that? Because I think that probably has maybe increased people's need to do them ticket because you got to scan to get out.
You can also tap a conventional um, pass. It doesn't have to be a scan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. It's scan the barcode or tap the same thing that we've been using for commuter rail passes for what, 15 years?
Okay, I didn't
Charlie
know that
Cards.
because I don't do a commuter rail pass. I only like
Right. Yeah.
them ticket
Yeah.
thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
So
do, and it was just yep. It's
yeah,
just as with the other modes, it's a different target.
right.
It's new target
Yeah.
and or old target.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how these may break down by weekday because I don't know if you're seeing increased utilization on weekends now that you have the $10 for a weekend in pass, which certainly if I have a choice between like doing the commuter rail, weekday, like a Friday, because I have this friend who lives in Gloucester. If I have the choice of doing it on a Friday or Sunday, it's like I'm gonna do Sunday, because it's like half the fare, and and so it's like so it takes so I'm sure other people who are cost conscious, if they have the ability to shift, will do. Let's just wonder if how it might break down by weekday or by day of week. But anyways, it's a good thing. So
Absolutely.
let's see. So there's one about the funding that they are
Yeah.
getting. Let's see. It's
I
early.
believe I have that right here.
It's CTF transfer
Yep.
proposal. Yeah. So yeah. So this one's um interesting. I didn't write down the note at the time when. I know what I liked about it was that the power system resiliency investments. Yeah, I'm really happy to see that. Yeah, and um, so yeah, I just figured I'd mention that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's more background on where the money's coming from, and so so
Yeah.
yeah,
Correct me if I'm wrong. The Executive Office of Administration and Finance, A&F called here. That's the governor's office, right? I believe so.
where are you talking about?
Sorry, slide number 3 of this additional CTF funding through Fair Share.
Yeah,
And it says today's recommendation in collaboration with the Executive Office of Administration and Finance. I don't believe that's referring to Office of Administration and Finance within the MBTA or even MassDOT, right? I believe that's talking about um, the
yeah,
executive branch.
yeah, yeah. I think so. I think so.
Yeah, because it calls it unlocking an additional $600 million, and that I mean I was trying to imagine like unlocking it from oh well if it's under if it's under the executive office then partnering, which is it says collaboration here, partnering, does that mean hey we're now able to move this over from Healy administration assignments to MBTA assignments? Okay. If that's the case, yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think I'm gonna need to reread this, and that my initial understanding might not be correct because when I go back to the previous slide, it seems like these are bonds, that are being released, and that's where the unlock comes from. And so, if
Oh,
it's the issuance of bonds in order to do this work, then that means that we're borrowing and to do the work. Which it's well, it's capital, and so I feel better about borrowing to do capital work,
yeah.
than borrowing to do operations work. Uh, there was a time when I was more sanguine towards borrowing,
Mhm.
but I'm a little bit more concerned now about borrowing now that interest rates are going up, so, but But if you think they're going to go up even higher, then I guess it's better to borrow now, and get the work done
Right.
than to borrow later. And certainly, I think it's just a guarantee, that everything's going to cost more. Later on, so work delayed, is going to cost you more, in the future. It's just really a matter now whether your borrowing costs, will be below the rate of inflation, and so where you net out positive, by doing the work sooner rather than later, and yeah. So, anyways, if we are going to borrow money or we're going to spend money, I'm definitely happy to see us spending it, to deal with our power system, because that's just key, to
Yeah.
everything. No power and
And
nothing works. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and I'll give you credit, Len. I know that you've been, if my memory is correct, you've been calling out funding for power as overlooked is too strong a term, but
Underfunded,
underfunded.
underfunded in a
Yeah,
huge
for a
way.
while.
Since like
Yeah.
2015, when we saw the report on the budget, and the extent to which we were underfunding things. It seemed like it would take so little money, to
Mhm.
bring the power systems into compliance. Relative to other things. So power and technology, I felt that they were things that we really needed to spend more money on. They seemed to be like in the realm where we had the money to spend on it. So anyways, so I'm happy about that. And another thing I'll point out, as I mentioned earlier, it seems like they are priming the ground, for a fair increase,
Yes.
and I have to say, I'm on board with it, especially since we have the means testing for fares, and and I'm glad to see the program is perhaps being utilized more than expected. And that's probably costing us more, but I hope that means that we will feel bolder about increasing fares a bit more, since people who need the break, can get the break, and those of us who can afford it, can pay for it. They note that we are at the bottom for bus fares. And so normally I would say, like, keep the bus fares low, but once again, we're means testing. But I would say, maybe, if you want to be really conservative on the way that you increase the bus fares, you take it from 170, to 175. Initially, I think maybe what you should do is kind of stage this thing, because I think, I'm sure you remember where what we wanted was regular small fare increases, rather
Yep.
than, these big 25% increases every like 4 or 5 years. Do five, ideally like 2.5% increases, a year. And so maybe 5% every 2 years. And I think they ended up going for 7%, every 2 years, which is fine, but just say, okay, we're going to get back to this. We took a pause, when COVID happened, understandably, but now I think we need to kind of get back into that rhythm, but still, maybe do buses a little bit less, to see what impact that's having. But the subway is in line. The heavy rail is in line with other properties. But I still think we could go from 240, to 260, because what they said is that controlling for inflation, and I guess maybe this isn't so much inflation, but we've done some things, recently, that have kind of brought the fares down, and I like the things that we've done, but given the deficit and the fact we haven't had a fare increase in a while, I think it's okay. To go for that. And they've done the work now to get at least a heavy rail, functioning, in a way that I think people appreciate. And it can, yeah, it's like what you kind of expect from a rapid rail system. It's like it's going fast, and by the time they have the fare increase, I think they will have gotten rid of the last of the speed restrictions, and hopefully will have in place a process that can stop them from coming back, without major disruptions. Like, hopefully, we can do the stuff overnight, and if we have to shut down the system, it'll be like maybe once a year, on certain parts of the line for each of the major lines. Just something that doesn't make people just like get upset, or feel significantly inconvenienced. So with that, I can support it.
I'm
So
with you on that one too.
uh, uh,
Yeah. And I in hindsight, Mr. Eng likely had, okay, I'll just say I'm not likely. I think it's a good possibility that Mr. Eng had this in mind when he pushed forward all of the accelerated track improvement work, which has gone, as we were just talking about, gone beyond the year ago projections. Because if I'm not mistaken, we talked about this many, many times in the past, reliability and a speedy travel time or trip time are one of the most tangible things to the average rider. Hey, my train's moving quickly and it came when it was supposed to, and I haven't been negatively impacted by delays in a while. Wow, hey, they're really improving, really goes to dampening the negative emotions around a fare increase. You know what I mean? I wouldn't
well,
be surprised if Mr. Rang had that kind of calculation in mind. We get everybody
yeah,
happy because we get the quality of the ride back. It's really a tangible thing. Okay. Now we can leverage that little bit of better feelings from the riders into a fare increase that would have been hard to push when the service was still slow and unreliable. Just my personal thoughts.
yeah. Well, me maybe, just having been on the receiving end of people's speculation on my motives, in my role as to why I'm doing things. It's more like, folks, I'm just taking these things as they come. It's like it's like I need to get this done. I get this done. The next thing up, okay. I need to get this done. Yes, a lot of times I'm thinking ahead, but it's not so much how can I make you feel good about me. What I'm gonna do is more like this has to be done, folks. And so now that it's done, it's like time to deal with the funding part of it. And so yeah, it certainly makes it easier.
I think we're all saying the same. I think you're both saying the same thing, right? That essentially, you paused during COVID. You couldn't after COVID. The service went to pot. It was a really bad time to unpause it and bring it back. So you had to wait for the track work to be done.
Right.
You're boxed into a corner. I mean, it wasn't a genius idea. No matter who it was, like it would have been like no matter who was in charge. I think they would have said, "Uh-oh, can't."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. I'll go with that. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, so I'm fine. I don't know if you heard the news. I think SEPTA is going to do a significant fare increase, and service reductions, for their next fiscal year, which I think also starts in June. So because they have, I think their shortfall is like $240 million. It's like, oh, that's hardly anything compared to us. But they're a smaller system too. So I just heard on the news today. I think it was like local news. Which is talking about SEPTA's fare increases and service cuts too. And I think we really want to avoid service cuts. I think if we have to take a higher fare increase in order to not have service cuts, let's do that. Let's try to avoid service cuts. At all costs. Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
Oh,
so,
wow. I don't think I really noted this before.
but
If MBTA fares had kept up with inflation, yikes. I mean, it's
Yep.
that's something that I guess
it's not crazy.
yeah.
It's not
It's
crazy
not
at all.
crazy. No, it's not. But
And I
calling
think
it out is great.
yeah, and I think we can project out on inflation and then set a course. To do regular small fare increases. That keeps us in the ballpark. And not losing. What we need. Simply for due to inflation. So and I think it's really about managing the public's expectation. And then executing real leadership. because people are going to complain and say no. There'll be the loud voices, and it'll sound like, it's a lot of people and there's resistance is huge. But most people are reasonable, and you just have to have confidence in them, and they respect leadership that is principled and say, look, this is what we need to do, and I'm sticking to it, and I'm not going to change because I'm afraid you're not going to vote for me. It's like, if you're not going to vote for me because of that, then don't vote for me. But this is the right thing to do. And I'm going to advocate doing it. And like I said, we now have the means testing in place. Which to me is the key, to this. Because now we can take care of the people, who really can't afford the increases. If we find out that it's not enough, then we can do more. But then we just have to factor that into the equation of how we increase the fares. So
Yeah.
but let's do that. Let's do that instead of service cuts. Is what
Yeah.
I'm pushing for. Although I think we're probably gonna end up doing some service cuts too, but let's try to be really careful about how we do those. And
Absolutely.
we don't want to strand people. And we certainly don't want to make it harder for people who rely on the service, to get to work, especially early in the mornings and late at night. To get stranded too. So.
Yep.
So we might have to reduce the frequency. And that is another thing they talked about, which is a little bit concerning to me. This is on the service policy. So it seems like we're no longer going to have like the rush hour type service increase, which is headway reduction. So I think it used to be that they're doing the morning and the evening rushes. They would have the headways would be down to 10%. I guess they're no longer calling them key bus routes. I think they're calling it high frequency routes or something like that. So, but now it seems like everything is going to be 15 minutes, headway, and I don't know how well it's going to work, because the fewer buses, the less the headway, the more people you're going to have in the bus, and that's just going to slow the bus down more, because especially maybe we can change the way we board buses, to stop it from decrease the dwell time. But still, you're gonna have more people getting on and off. And so that's going to increase your headway. And it doesn't take much before you end up with bus bunching. So I don't know if you can stabilize the headways without increasing the number of buses during rush. So so I don't know if increasing the number of buses in order to maintain, that headway will be sufficient. But I guess almost by definition it is. If you increase the number of buses, yeah, I guess by definition you are not going to increase delays in the system. Another thing I like, and I'll stop because I've been talking a lot, is the way that they are in the service policy evaluating the nature of the service. So it used to be that they're taking into account the whole trip. So not just the headway part, like the on time part. It's the bus arriving on time. But they're taking into account the whole trip. So if the trip is taking longer and your wait is taking longer, then that's part of the metric. So they're actually making things harder on themselves. So with the new standard, the OTP kind of goes down. But I appreciate that, and I don't think it's unreasonable because that is kind of like the rider experience. It's like if you're counting on getting to point A to point B in a certain amount of time, it doesn't really matter. Well, I was about to say, it doesn't really matter whether you're waiting a long time and the trip takes less time, or you're waiting less time and the trip takes more time. I say that, but psychologically, I don't think that's the case. I think we all hate waiting a long time.
Yep.
It's just something about that wait that kills you. And even now it's easier with the app, so you don't wait a whole long time. But I think especially in the wintertime, I had to take the choice between waiting a long time, and the trip taking less time, or waiting less time and the trip taking a long time. In the wintertime, I'll take waiting less time and the trip taking a long time. But nonetheless, they are factoring both the wait time and the trip time into the equation. So I applaud that for. So I'm stopping.
Okay. Before I forget, if you don't mind, I want to jump back to the previous deck just to call out one thing.
Sure.
Just very quickly, because I know there's probably a likelihood that somebody from CTPS will watch this video later. And if anybody from CTPS later on could illuminate us a little bit on how the average fare was calculated for each of these time periods, I'm interested to know if it's simply like the amount of revenue collected from fares divided by the number of trips or something like that. I mean, I can imagine that it would be. I mean, this seems to be an average across. I mean, kind of feels like it's all modes. So maybe it's like as simple as add up every dollar brought in by fares divided by the number of trips. Average fare could be.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if commuter rails is factored into this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Well, maybe not, but I mean, I'm just wondering about the methodology, really.
yeah.
Regardless of the scope of the data inputs. I mean, if
it can't include commuter rail. There's no way we would average $1.72.
oh no, because it's the head count, right? I mean, the total ridership head count of commuter rail is just so small relative to bus and rapid transit, right? Isn't it? Maybe I
No,
don't know.
it is, but so is the cost. Like the cost per trip is
Oh, of course.
so much higher. I think this is just
Bus and heavy rail.
Yeah.
Well, bus and MBTA rail, not
right.
not
And they
not
may have
normal
also
rail,
included
yeah.
people using a link pass in there as well, right? So if they added up everybody who's got a link pass, a subway car, or whether you bought individual fares or you bought a monthly pass for $110, to your point, it's just all the revenue for light rail and bus.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Those other bullet points.
It's all that stuff combined, divided by a number of trips on those two modes of transportation.
Yeah, I bet it's that. Yep. But hopefully we'll hear from somebody from CTPS who can email in or let us know.
Yeah, it's probably referencing those because I mean, the bottom of that slide is talking about link passes and subway fares and local bus.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't mention commuter rail in that. So I think that's the context for
I like
the
that
data on the slide.
Yeah. Cool. That was one thing I wanted to go back to that before I forgot about it.
Sure.
Was there anything else from the OPMI presentation that you wanted to call out, Len? I have to admit, I really didn't look at this before tonight. So
it's a good deck. I mean, if like me, you find yourself early on getting thrown off by what do they mean by what's the term they use? Inside, versus outside. Let's see. You can find the term.
Here we go.
It's like
redefined span of service.
It's about span of service. So they say inside bounds to outside bounds. They do explain it later on towards the bottom of the deck. But essentially what it means is inside. See if I can do this right. Is you take the first trip and you say when it's going to arrive, and that's when you determine the span of service. And then the last trip is when it departs, versus when it arrives at its final destination. So that's inside. So that's essentially saying, And outside is you say when the first trip departs, and when the last trip arrives. And so that gives you a greater span of service. They say that kind of more accurately reflects what people how people use the service, and that's true. And so because you do want to know when that first trip is going to leave, in the morning, especially if you go into the airport first thing in the morning, and you do want to know when that last trip is going to arrive. Especially if you are, trying to take the the transit system back. I mean, that said, when you're counting on that last trip, you you definitely want to know when that last trip is departing. But that's just for utilization of that particular service. In terms of disbanded service for the whole network, yeah, I think outside, is much better, metric than inside.
Yeah. And this
Yeah,
particular graphic or this particular slide, this really helps.
yeah,
The before and the after.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, with some
yeah.
actual sample schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
they get
very well done.
Yeah, they get to it at the bottom of the deck, and so they refer to it a bunch of times. And every time I saw it, it's like, what is that?
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much that it was bugging me. It's just the kind of the way that I learn stuff, or don't learn. It's like sometimes it just when I encounter a term that I don't know what it means. I just kind of get hung up on a little bit, and I was hoping to explain it at the very end. I'm getting better about not getting too distracted, and
Yeah.
going off and looking at it, looking for it before it's explained to me.
Yeah.
But I
And I
figured,
can actually and
yeah,
I can appreciate the simplification of the expected average headway because 10 in peak, early AM, midnight 20. I mean, yeah, trying to do that analysis, yikes. But
yeah, well,
yeah,
I mean,
simplified, consistent standard. Absolutely. More approachable. Yeah.
yeah, I guess. I mean, like I said, I don't know how that reduced peak the increased headway the peak is going to work, and so it's like you have more people trying to. I think this is for buses, right? Yeah, it is for buses. So
Yep.
you have more people trying to use the bus in the morning, or during rush. And then you're cutting it back. This is like cutting it back by 50%, right? Either 30%, 33% or 50%, depending on how you do the calculation. That's still
Mhm.
significant, and so are they going to throw more buses in because in order to maintain the headway? Because if you have more people getting on the bus, the dwell time is going to increase. You know,
Wait. No, wait. This is only talking about how they're going to be doing the calculations, I believe, right? Let me go back to I just went too far.
uh,
Now I just went
no,
too
it's
far in
talking
the
about
other
this.
direction.
It's talking about the service that they're going to provide.
I just here we go. Um, no, I don't think so. I think this is talking about analysis metrics, or sorry, the methods of analyzing the metrics, isn't it?
I think it's talking about the service they're going to provide. Stuff.
Okay, but the span here,
The span won't change anything, right? So
but
that
yeah,
one is
but yeah, but
The span is going to remain the same. It's just a matter of how they
that's
how
no
they
change in service.
right, right,
right, that's what
That's
yeah,
just a
that's
right.
definition change.
Yes, it's just
right. And yeah, it's a
Right.
definition change for the purposes
Right.
of calculating on-time performance, and I think that's also what's here. I
No,
think
because
they're
they
simplifying.
intentionally use on the first one they intentionally include the word definition. They said span
Okay.
definition. They're not saying frequency definition or frequency metric.
Ooh, okay, yeah, you're right.
yeah, something they're changing.
Well, description of service as it is delivered. Description. See, no, I think this is
No,
just talking
because it's
about,
expected. Oh, it's expected average headways.
yeah, I think this is for the purposes of analysis, not for the actual delivery. I don't think this is an input to the schedule process or the scheduling process.
What's the next slide? So impacts of results.
Yeah, see, it's talking about a percentage being different, a performance metric based on a different policy for analysis. I'm pretty sure about that. Yeah, the more I'm reading this, I think we're talking about standards for on-time delivery, which is being simplified to 15 minutes across the board for assessing the adherence to the performance standard. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
And then the side effect of the better analysis or the simplified analysis.
Right, because otherwise frequency would mean they're changing the schedule, and you can't
Right. Yeah. And this
that's not how the schedule change works. So this is
right.
I'm starting to agree with you. This is for calculation purposes only, which is why they're giving you the comparison of how you same data you calculated two different ways.
Yeah. And OPMI is the Office of Performance
Yeah.
Management and what's the I?
What is changing? So we're looking at what is changing. So this is on deck, I mean,
Yeah, it's
Innovation.
slide
an OPMI deck,
number
not a
24.
T
So
deck.
it's slide number 24.
Yep.
I mean,
Looking
so
right at it.
the expected average head wave for frequent bus routes before is 10 minutes at AM peak, and uh, 15 minutes early AM and midday, 20 minutes evenings and weekends. After is 15 minutes at all time.
Right.
That's the expected change in the frequency. That's not analysis. That's the
No,
change in
no,
the frequency.
no. That's the new, because they're not changing the schedule. All they're doing is applying a new frequency benchmark to the existing schedules.
Yes. Yes. And that says here on the right-hand side, more accurate description of service as delivered. In other words, the adherence to the on-time performance is going to be analyzed differently. Or the on-time performance itself will be calculated differently in a more simplistic, intuitive way.
If you go down, I'll explain on the chart below.
Yep.
On the chart below here, the weekday number went up because you lowered your standard for some of the rush hours from 10 minutes to 15 minutes. So you gained some percentage points there. But then by taking away the 20-minute time and dropping the 20-minute time down to 15 minutes on weekends, you've now set a higher standard for yourself. You set a lower standard for yourself on weekends, which is why the 2024 percentage is higher than the 2021 percentage. You've raised your standards to 15 minutes rather than 20 minutes on the weekends, which is why all of a sudden you've dropped down to 75 and 62. You're just applying different standards to the same data set.
That's
I like that. Yeah.
That's for back testing, and for projections, I see what you mean in terms of analysis, but I'm talking about the service delivered now.
They can't change this. The Office of OPMI can't magically change the schedule of the 111. The schedule is the schedule is the schedule. It comes out for the fall schedule is the fall schedule. All this is saying when we report on it, this is this is how we're going to report on it.
Yep. And I just found this in case it helps. This is the official about page. The OPMI, innovation being the I, focuses on basically research and data. And so I believe the scope of this, the slides that we were seeing talking about the changes are in fact just in the analysis and research methodology, practices, policy, etc.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, because I mean, if I'm reading this right, OPMI by their own definition here is reactive and analytical and not setting the service delivery schedules.
They're setting the service delivery policy. This is
Right.
the analysis
Yes.
prior to changing the service delivery policy. So what I'm saying is that they are proposing, changing the service delivery policy so the headways, we will not be having rush hour headways, of 10 minutes in the mornings. They're just going to bring everything, to 15 minutes throughout the day. And they are going to discuss these proposed changes on the 14th, in a meeting with the public. So this is all preparation for changing the policy. So yes, the schedules haven't changed yet. They are discussing the policy in preparation for changing the schedules of the buses.
Let me pull up the summary from that meeting on the 14th. This is what's on the event page. Service delivery policy sets how the MBTA evaluates service quality and how it allocates service to meet the needs. Okay. And I believe this document is outlining all the things we just saw in the slides.
You change the policy and then you can change the schedule.
Yeah, yes, because the updates will be used to evaluate service delivery, and then based on the updated analysis, meaning evaluation of this calendar year's delivery, yeah, then that becomes inputs to the next round of service planning. I think it makes sense now. To me. I'll speak for
It
myself.
also makes sense to me, but for me, I guess I'm still coming to a different conclusion than you all are. I'm saying they're getting ready to change the service policy, so that you're gonna.
Yeah, no, I would agree that we all agree they haven't changed it yet. Whether this is the first step or not, I think we'll see play out. It may be the first step. I get it.
Yeah, that's the first step. And given our history with the T, it's the first step of a pretty, I think, inevitable change that's coming along, and then it's just really a matter of whether they reverse it in short order or not. Whether it just rolls out so badly that they reverse in the next, what do they call it, pick or not,
Oh, rating.
Rating,
yeah. Commuter rail is a pick. Yeah, buses are rating, but
but there could be a chance that the outcry would be so large, at the November public November 14th meeting, to decide not to go forward with the policy change. But we'll see.
But I don't know if you saw me highlighting, Glenn. I know you're not necessarily looking at my shared screen, but it does say here this change, referring to the availability 2 points. This change does not dictate any change in the scheduled service, but provides a more accurate description of service as it's delivered and is more approachable and intuitive for riders.
So then and so that's an interesting statement, and I think what that is really saying, is that we can't adhere to the schedule as we have provided it. And if we change the service delivery policy, it will match what you're getting. And so that supports your argument that nothing's going to change, but it's not nothing's going to change because we're not trying to provide more service, shorter headways in the morning. That was the goal, but we're realizing that's just not working. And so we're just going to say, okay, you know what? We're just going to do every 15 minutes, all day long. So that's the reality of the early morning and the rush services. Now this may ultimately give you better service on during the periods when you had longer headways. And in that case, I would say it isn't pretty much reflecting what you're getting. It's going to be an improvement on those days or those times when the headways were 20 minutes, Because dare I say, in the middle of the day and on weekends, when your headways or longer, when you decrease those headways, it's just going to be better service to people. So and and I think that's a good trade-off because essentially you're saying, look, we're not providing, we're not giving you 10-minute headways, during rush hour. For whatever reason, be it traffic or whatever, drop bus trips, probably more drop bus trips. We're not providing headways every 10 minutes. What you're really getting is every 15 minutes, and we're just going to give you a schedule that tells you what you're really getting. You know, so that matches what you were saying, but what is a kind of a nuanced distinction. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, also funny that you mentioned drop trips because the standard will be updated to penalize drop trips in this document. I don't think I saw that on the slide deck, or maybe I glanced over or glossed over it. But the old language says the MBTA does not currently track dropped bus trips.
Yeah.
Yikes. I mean, maybe that was policy, not practice, but in the future, when the MBTA is able to track drop trips and frequent basis, drop trips will count as failures for all time point crossings. Hey, yes, please.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised at that too, because we do track drop trips, so we do, it's just, I didn't know they weren't part of the calculation, but I'm not, the more I think about it, it makes me realize I don't really understand how they were doing the calculation. Yeah. Anyways.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I'm accidentally merging old language and new language. I'm sorry. I didn't realize this is old language includes this in the future, what I just read. Okay, sorry. New language. Dropped trips are tracked on a trip-by-trip basis. Okay. A drop trip will count towards the number of time point crossings and will count as failures for all time. Okay. I'm going to have to read this over again later, but that sounds at first glance like a better way of looking at it. Oh yeah, and as Craig, you pointed out on the previous slide, under the old metrics, the on-time performance was a little better than what the projected calculations would be. So more strict standard seems to be the case here. I mean, I'm not saying it's a good policy draft here just because it's being more strict, but that seems to be one of the side effects, and that sounds good.
Anything else you want to cover? I need to drop it a little bit. But
yeah,
I can stay on for another minute if you want to cover one.
I think we're done.
A big one, topic you want to talk briefly.
No, I think we're done.
I've actually got just one quick thing.
Yeah.
It's very quick. It's on the safety performance and trend analysis. This was the slide from Chief Safety Officer Lesniak.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't called out in the main slides, but it's here in the appendix. Again, I'll put the link into the Zoom chat. Do you see what I'm seeing here? That there was a significant increase, their italicization in bus reportable injuries, and that's both customer and employee. And year-to-date monthly average 29, and in August it was 35. Yikes. And also compare that to, I'm going to go down to, okay, so heavy rail was, if I'm reading this right, heavy rail, significant improvement.
The 29, 21, they're fairly low numbers, though. I mean, like, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but when you're statistically, or that, like, you're just a couple, you can really blow your percentage out of the water with 3 or 4.
Yeah. Yep. But then look at significant increase in light rail reportable injuries on light rail.
Well, do we have a crash?
I would not be surprised if the major factor in this was the derailment for apparently overspeed on the Green Line just outside of Leechmere.
Oh no, they say right there are no light rail derailments in August.
Oh, right. Wasn't that one in July?
Yeah.
I think.
It
Oh,
was,
oh,
it
you're
was,
right. Oh,
it
no,
was,
I'm sorry. It does say,
it was 13 versus 10.
oh, but it was no derailments in August.
Oh.
Wait, what? Now I'm confused. Maybe, when did that derailment happen? Was that in September after all? No, couldn't be. It had to have been.
We don't really have any we don't have any detail in the nature of the injuries, like what causes them. I mean, was it like the train stopping suddenly or what? We just don't know. And I think it's always like the tension between providing more detail, but then it's so much detail you can't really. It becomes meaningless, or so little detail that it's hard to discern any kind of pattern. So I don't know what to make of these. Yeah, I'm glad
It was
to provide
October.
them, but huh?
It was October. It was October 1st. That Green Line derailment. Okay. I'm sorry then. Okay.
Right.
No light rail derailments are okay. So we don't even this isn't even covering October when the derailment happened. Okay. But even then, they were calling out. Yeah, go ahead, Len. Go ahead.
I'm done. I'm done.
Okay. That's fine.
I'm
That's
kind
fine.
of I'm kind of wanting to go and along with Craig. I have another meeting at 8 o'clock. I need to do some preparation for it. So have some food. We need to do some preparation for it.
Yeah, totally fine.
Yeah.
We are beyond the scheduled adjournment. Let me glance at YouTube. Nobody is watching on YouTube right now, and there's no chat text that anyone has put in
Right.
on YouTube, and it's just three of us in Zoom land. So, yeah,
And I'll just add
think we
next
can.
year I'm going to try and get Sandy to attend some of our meetings. He's now Sandy Johnson. He used to work for
Yep.
TPS. He's not an MBTA, and see if we can do more with partnership with him and learn more about the T and how we can maybe contribute and us be provide more impact and have a better sense of the timelines and what's going on at the T where we can impact. So Sandy likes us. He's helpful to the extent he has time. I think he'll be willing to work with us. So
Yep. Yeah.
that's it.
I mean, I'm not upset about it, but I would like I would like us to get back into a position where the agency is coming to us to make sure that we can be involved in things
Right.
like that public
Right.
rollout of the Type 10 demonstration. I mean, I don't know about you gents, but I don't think we heard anything that was directed directly to us.
No.
And that's unfortunate, and it's a change from the past. In the past, it was, hey, folks, new keelless model of the new bi-levels. Come down to North Station and see this.
Well,
And I
I hear
believe
you.
we got a mock-up tour of
Yeah.
the buses as well, the
Right.
new low floor. So, yeah, it's unfortunate, and I would love to do my best. I just sometimes don't know what direction to take it.
Well, I can talk with Darren. I know that appeals to you a lot. I'm more about the information than the checking out things. But that's just me. I understand the appeal to you. And it has definite value. I'm not devaluing it. I'll talk with Darren to see if we can get looped in.
Those are just examples of a trend away from involvement, and I don't mean to hint that those are the only things on my mind. No, absolutely. Information, access, involvement of all kinds.
Right.
Yeah. Take nothing directly just from those two examples that I just named.
Sure.
Yeah, it's all about
gotcha.
data and information.
The plan with talking to Sandy. All right, folks. Take care.
Thank you.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Craig.
Take care,
Have a great
everybody.
Thanksgiving, and you, Len. Yep. Thank you.
See you next month.
Bye, everybody.